In the bustling heart of the city, where dreams are both made and shattered, stood Marla, outside the cold glass doors of the Sterling Bank. She clutched her loan application, her last hope to save her startup. As she stepped forward, her resolve was as clear as the morning. What if the only thing standing between you and your dreams was a simple no, she wondered, facing the inevitable. What Marla didn't know was that today, the bank's refusal would unlock a chain of events revealing her true power, a revelation that would astonish everyone, including herself. Marla Grayson had never been one to take no for an answer. Born to a middle-class family in the suburbs, she learned early the value of perseverance. Her father, a small business owner, and her mother, a school teacher, instilled in her the importance of hard work and vision. As a child, she watched her parents navigate the challenges of entrepreneurship and education, which sowed the seeds of ambition in her. At university, she majored in business and technology, a field where she felt she could make a difference. It was there she first conceived the idea for her startup, EcoWear, a clothing line using sustainable materials and ethical labor practices. Her vision was clear: to change the fashion industry's impact on the environment. However, the path was fraught with obstacles. The fashion industry was dominated by established giants, and breaking in required not just great ideas, but substantial capital. Her initial attempts to secure funding were met with skepticism. Investors questioned the profitability of her ethical approach, and banks were hesitant to lend to a venture without a proven track record. This ongoing struggle brought Marla to a pivotal moment outside Sterling Bank. She had refined her business plan multiple times, each rejection refining her approach and resolve. Inside the bank, the loan officer was a middle-aged man named Mr. Thompson, known for his conservative lending policies. He saw in Marla the naivete of youth rather than the determination of a visionary. Their meeting was brief. Mr. Thompson skimmed through her proposal, barely hiding his disinterest, and rejected her application, citing high risks and insufficient collateral. Crushed but not defeated, Marla stepped out of the bank with a heavy heart. The rejection hit hard, questioning her belief in her dream. It was a moment of deep introspection. Was she really chasing an impossible fantasy? The comfort of a regular job, the security it offered, flashed through her mind. Yet, the thought of giving up her dream felt like betraying herself. Marla's resolve was tested further when her father fell ill, adding financial strain to emotional turmoil. Balancing family responsibilities and her startup's demands took a toll on her. However, it was during this low point that Marla's true power began to surface. She started a small online campaign to share her story and the challenges of ethical entrepreneurship. The response was unexpected. Hundreds of people, moved by her dedication and the authenticity of her vision, started supporting her. A well-known angel investor who had stumbled upon her campaign reached out with interest. This turn of events rekindled Marla's spirit. Her understanding deepened not only of her business, but of herself. She realized that her strength lay not in overcoming rejection, but in using it as a catalyst for evolution. She learned to harness the power of community and storytelling to drive her vision forward. Each supporter, each message of encouragement, was a testament to her resilience. As Marla prepared for a second meeting, this time with the angel investor, she was not the same person who had walked into Sterling Bank. She was wiser, more confident, and armed with a community's support. Her narrative had transformed from one of an individual struggle to a collective movement, making her not just a businesswoman, but a leader. The story of Marla Grayson is a testament to the power of resilience and vision. Through her journey, she not only confronted and overcame personal and professional challenges, but also ignited a change in those around her, inspiring a wave of new thinkers ready to challenge the status quo. The city where Marla Grayson chose to launch her startup was a tapestry of the old and the new, where gleaming skyscrapers stood in sharp contrast to the sprawling urban gardens that dotted the landscape. It was a city known for its bustling markets, vibrant street art, and an undercurrent of entrepreneurial zeal that pulsed through its veins. This was a place where history met modernity at every corner, an ideal backdrop for a venture like EcoWare, rooted in tradition but propelled by innovation. The district that housed EcoWare's small initial office was a curious blend of industrial grit and bohemian charm. Old warehouses, once abandoned, now thrummed with the activities of startups and artisanal workshops. The streets were lined with cafes where young professionals and creatives huddled over laptops, discussing ideas that might one day change the world. The air carried a mix of aromas. Fresh coffee, street food, and, faintly, the tang of paint from the nearby graffiti walls, vibrant murals that told stories of the city's cultural evolution. Marla's office itself was a modest space in one of these old warehouses. The interior was a reflection of her business's ethos: furniture made from recycled materials, decorations that were either handmade or salvaged, and large, open windows that flooded the room with natural light and offered a view of the green rooftop gardens across the street. This setting was not just a workplace, but a statement of purpose, a daily reminder of what EcoWare stood for. As winter gave way to spring, the transformation outside Marla's window was dramatic. The urban gardens blossomed with an explosion of colors, eye-pops of yellow, pink, and blue against the City Tiembia's steel backdrop. These gardens were community projects that mirrored her own business model: sustainable, community-driven, and vibrant against all odds. The sight of them thriving gave Marla a sense of kinship and hope, fueling her determination to push through the challenges. Moreover, the broader cityscape played a significant role in Marla's journey. The financial district, with its towering glass buildings and constant flow of suited professionals, represented the daunting world of traditional business and finance that Marla had to navigate and sometimes confront. It was a world that seemed cold and impermeable, like the glass facades that reflected the sun but revealed nothing within. The contrast between this area and her quirky, lively district underscored the dichotomy of her struggle, as between the established norms she sought to challenge and the innovative path she was carving. The city was also a character in itself during Marla's campaign to gather support after her initial rejection. She organized meetings in local parks and community centers, spaces that resonated with her brand's ethos of openness and community involvement. These gatherings were not just meetings, but celebrations of community and shared purpose, filled with lively discussions, local musicians playing in the background, and tables laden with food from neighborhood vendors. Each location Marla chose was imbued with significance, from the cozy, book-lined corners of local cafes to the bustling, vibrant markets where she sourced materials. The settings were carefully chosen to reinforce her narrative. They were places that embraced sustainability and community, each a vivid thread in the fabric of her story. These places not only supported the mood and themes of her venture, but were integral to the plot of her unfolding story, serving as stages on which key events and transformations took place. As the narrative of her struggle and eventual triumph unfolded, the city, with its contrasting spaces and communal ethos, provided more than just a backdrop. It became a mirror reflecting the highs and lows of her journey, a dynamic setting that responded to and enhanced her evolving story. Through Marla's eyes, the readers experienced a city pulsating with life, challenging yet nurturing, much like the journey of EcoWare itself. This immersive world, crafted with rich, descriptive detail and palpable atmosphere, invited the audience to not only observe but feel part of Marla's quest. Marla Grayson's journey with EcoWare began under the shadow of doubt and the looming specter of failure. but she was driven by a fiery conviction that her concept could revolutionize the fashion industry. After her disheartening rejection at Sterling Bank, she found herself at a crossroads. Her immediate challenge was not just financial, but emotional. Could she carry on despite the skepticism from the financial gatekeepers? Initial setback and rallying community support. In the days following the rejection, Marla channeled her frustration into a potent force for action. She decided to pivot from traditional funding routes and launched a crowdfunding campaign. This move wasn't just about raising money, it was about building a community around her vision. She meticulously crafted her campaign, infusing it with the passion and depth of her commitment to sustainability and ethical fashion. To her surprise, the campaign resonated deeply, garnering attention far beyond her local community. Donations trickled in, then flooded as her story went viral. Challenge of scalability and operational hurdles. Bolstered by this support, Marla faced her next hurdle, scaling her production to meet the unexpected demand. She had to quickly navigate the logistics of sourcing materials that adhered to her ethical standards on a much larger scale. Additionally, she needed to establish partnerships with manufacturers who could commit to her vision of fair labor practices. Each step was fraught with negotiations and tough decisions, balancing cost with ethics and supply with demand. The twist: corporate espionage. Just as Marla began to feel she was gaining ground, she hit another unexpected snag. A competing, well-established fashion conglomerate took notice of eco-wear's rising popularity. Seeing her as a threat to their market share, they attempted to undermine her. This came to light when Marla discovered that some of her proprietary designs had been stolen and rushed to market by the conglomerate. This act of corporate espionage was a brutal blow, threatening not just her business, but the trust she had built with her supporters. Legal battles and public backlash. Refusing to be victimized, Marla took legal action against the conglomerate, a daunting prospect given their vast resources. This legal battle became a David versus Goliath story that further rallied public support for eco-wear. Marla's transparency about the struggle, shared through social media and press interviews, painted her not just as a businesswoman, but as a crusader for ethics in business. The public backlash against the conglomerate was swift and severe, affecting their sales and stock prices. Climax: a critical partnership. As the legal battle waged on, Marla received an unexpected offer from a renowned global supplier of organic materials. They were impressed by her tenacity and commitment to sustainability and offered her an exclusive partnership. This deal would provide eco-wear with a steady supply of ethically sourced materials at a manageable cost, allowing Marla to not only continue her work, but also expand it. Resolution and expansion. With the new partnership secured and the legal battle settled in her favor, resulting in substantial compensation and public apologies from the conglomerate, Marla was finally able to stabilize eco-wear's operations. The company flourished, expanding beyond clothing to a full lifestyle brand committed to ethical practices across all products. Unexpected twist and forward momentum. In a final twist, the CEO of the conglomerate, shaken by the fallout and impressed by Marla's integrity, stepped down, and the company reached out to Marla for a consultancy on ethical business practices. Marla's influence thus extended beyond her own enterprise, sparking industry-wide changes. Through Marla's story, the plot not only followed her internal journey and growth, but mirrored the external battles and victories, intertwining personal triumphs with broader industry impacts. This layering of conflicts, from personal to professional to legal, and the incorporation of unexpected alliances and resolutions, kept the narrative suspenseful and engaging, compelling readers to invest in not just the outcome, but the values driving Marla's journey. The narrative progression of Marla's journey was marked significantly through her interactions. each conversation revealing layers of her struggle and the evolving landscape of her business. Here's how the dialogue unfolded through various key moments. Confrontation with Mr. Thompson at Sterling Bank. Marla, with a determined stride, approached Mr. Thompson's desk after being rejected. Marla, I need to understand, Mr. Thompson. What about my business plan isn't convincing enough for you? Mr. Thompson, looking over his glasses. Ms. Grayson, it's not about conviction. It's about risk. Your model is admirable, but not proven financially. It's a big gamble for a bank like ours. Marla, but isn't progress about taking chances? About investing in a better future? Mr. Thompson, in banking, progress is about assured returns. This exchange highlighted the central conflict of Marla's innovative ideas clashing with traditional banking conservatism, setting the stage for her resolve to find alternative paths. Rallying her team. Post-rejection. In a small, cramped meeting room, Marla addressed her team, a mix of old college friends and early believers in her vision. Marla, we hit a wall, but that doesn't mean our journey ends here. It's just a sign that we need to pave our own path. Tom, her tech lead. So what's the plan? Marla, crowdfunding. Let's take our story to the people. Let's show them what we're trying to build. If the banks won't back us, maybe the public will. This dialogue underscored her leadership and the pivot towards a community-driven funding approach, deepening the unity and resolve within her team. Discovering the corporate espionage, Marla received a call late one night from a contact in the fashion industry, revealing the theft of her designs. Marla, are you certain there are designs? Contact, I've seen the samples, Marla. They're not just similar, they're identical. Marla, pausing to absorb the shock. Thank you for letting me know. This is war. The stark, urgent exchange showcased Marla's shock turning into a steely resolve, indicating a significant escalation in her challenges. Negotiating the partnership. Marla sat across from the potential partner, a supplier of organic materials, negotiating terms that could define EcoWare's future. Supplier. We admire what you're trying to do, Marla. We're ready to support you, but we need assurances on volumes. Marla. I understand your concerns. Let me be clear. Apo team, not just looking for a supplier, I'm looking for a partner, someone who shares our vision and grows with us. Supplier, nodding slowly. That's fair. Let's make this work. This dialogue was pivotal, moving the plot towards a hopeful resolution by showcasing Marla's ability to align her mission with business logistics, emphasizing the themes of partnership and growth. Final confrontation with the conglomerate's CEO. In a tense meeting, Marla faced the CEO of the conglomerate that had stolen her designs. CEO, Ms. Grayson, your actions have cost us dearly. What do you want? Marla, what I want is simple. Acknowledgement of wrongdoing, compensation, and a public commitment to ethical practices. CEO, after a heavy silence, will comply. Your tenacity is commendable. Marla, it's not about tenacity. It's about integrity. This critical dialogue marked the climax of her battle, with Marla not just seeking justice, but also influencing change at the highest levels, pushing forward the narrative of personal and corporate ethics. Each piece of dialogue not only advanced the storyline, but also deepened the understanding of characters' motivations, their growth, and the dynamic shifts in relationships, aligning closely with the development of the plot and the overarching theme of the story. In Marla's narrative, the integration of cultural elements served as a vital layer, adding depth and grounding her journey in a relatable context. The story unfolds in a multicultural urban landscape, reflective of Marla's own diverse background and her commitment to inclusivity and sustainability. Embracing local traditions, Marla's commitment to sustainability was deeply influenced by her multicultural upbringing, particularly by her grandmother, who taught her the value of reusing and repurposing materials. These principles were rooted in traditional practices that were not just about saving money, but respecting resources. Marla integrated these cultural lessons into eco-wear, using fabrics that were locally sourced and employing traditional methods of dyeing and weaving, which not only preserved these ancient crafts, but also reduced the carbon footprint of production. Community engagement and festivals. Marla actively participated in local community festivals, which were a blend of various cultural celebrations reflecting the city's diverse population. During these events, eco-wear set up booths made from recycled materials, showcasing garments and sharing stories behind each piece. These festivals became a platform for Marla to educate the public about global textile practices and the importance of ethical consumption, making her business a part of the community's cultural fabric. Collaboration with indigenous artisans. One of Marla's significant initiatives was her collaboration with indigenous artisans. This partnership was highlighted during a key scene where she meets with a group of artisans to discuss designs. The artisans shared their traditional techniques, which were incorporated into eco-wear's latest line. This collaboration was not only about creating unique products, but also about respecting and preserving cultural heritage. Marla ensured that these artisans were credited in the marketing materials, bringing attention to their skills and traditions. Cultural symbols and motifs. The designs of eco-wear often featured symbols and motifs significant to various cultures, carefully chosen and respectfully represented, to educate customers about their meanings and origins. Each piece came with a tag explaining the motif's cultural significance and the story of the people who crafted it. This practice not only enriched the customer's experience, but also promoted cultural appreciation and sensitivity. Dialogue. Incorporating cultural respect. In discussions with potential investors and partners, Marla often emphasized the cultural aspects of her business. She explained how eco-wear's approach was about more than fashion. It was about fostering a global community that values cultural diversity and sustainability. Her pitch included phrases in different languages, greetings, and expressions of gratitude, which she used to connect with diverse audiences, demonstrating respect and acknowledgement of their cultures. These cultural elements in Marla's story not only added layers of authenticity and depth, but also actively engaged the reader, offering a window into how traditional practices can be harmoniously woven into modern entrepreneurship. The story celebrated cultural diversity as a strength, influencing both the business model and the narrative structure, and emphasizing the role of cultural understanding in fostering global change. Marla's emotional journey through the challenges and triumphs of establishing eco-wear served as the heart of her narrative, drawing readers into her personal growth and the raw realities of pursuing a dream against formidable odds. Facing rejection. The story begins with Marla feeling a profound sense of defeat as she walks away from Sterling Bank. Her dream, so vivid and promising in her mind, seemed to crumble with Mr. Thompson's dismissive words. This moment was crucial, as it laid bare her vulnerability. The reader feels the sting of rejection alongside Marla, understanding her dismay and frustration. Her response to this setback was not immediate resilience, but a true-to-life processing of emotions, doubt, fear, and the heavy weight of uncertainty. This portrayal made her subsequent decisions and actions deeply compelling. Rallying from despair. The emotional core of the story deepens as Marla decides to launch a crowdfunding campaign. Here, she transforms her initial despair into a determined outreach to the community. The scene where she records her campaign video was charged with emotion. As she speaks into the camera, her voice fluctuates between conviction and trepidation, her eyes welling up not from sadness, but from a fierce hope. This moment resonated with the audience, evoking a feeling of rooting for the underdog, sharing in her fragile yet unyielding optimism. Betrayal and resilience. The shock of discovering that her designs had been stolen was a pivotal emotional turning point. The reader feels the cold betrayal Marla experiences, a betrayal that tests her faith in the fairness of the industry. Her confrontation with the corporate giant added layers to her emotional narrative, shifting from shock to righteous anger, then to a strategic calm as she navigated the legal and public relations battle. Each emotional shift was a step in her growth, illustrating her evolving understanding of what it means to be a leader and a fighter in the business world. The power of community. A particularly emotional segment was when Marla attended a community festival, now not just as a participant, but as a symbol of ethical entrepreneurship. She walked through the festival, her previous year's despair replaced by the warmth of community support. As people approached her, sharing stories of how her campaign inspired them to support sustainable practices, Marla realized she was no longer fighting alone. This realization brought a profound sense of gratitude and belonging, emotions that the reader shares through vivid, heartfelt dialogues and interactions. Climactic revelation. The climax of the story brought a surge of emotions when Marla, having won her legal battle and secured a vital partnership, addressed a gathering of supporters and investors. Her speech, a reflection of her journey and a tribute to those who stood by her, was charged with emotion. She spoke of the hardships and the triumphs, her voice steady but filled with the warmth of genuine gratitude. Tears streamed down her face as she thanked her team, her family, and every single supporter, acknowledging that her victory was also theirs. This scene was a cathartic release not only for Marla, but also for the audience, encapsulating the emotional depth of her journey. Reflective resolution. In the final scenes, as Marla reflected on her journey, the tone shifted to one of introspection and forward-looking optimism. Sitting in her now bustling office, she penned a letter to her younger self, offering words of encouragement and wisdom, a powerful narrative device that allowed the reader to see the depth of her emotional growth. She wrote about the importance of resilience, the value of community, and the unyielding pursuit of one's convictions. Through these emotional arcs, the story connected Marla's experiences with the audience, invoking empathy, engagement, and a shared sense of triumph. Her emotional growth, from a disheartened entrepreneur to a confident leader who understands the power of community and ethical integrity, was not just a personal victory, but a resonant example of universal human experiences and aspirations. Marla Grayson's journey, embedded in the fabric of a vibrant city, presented a rich tapestry of visual elements that brought her story to life. Her world was one where the clash of corporate steel met the warmth of community fabric markets, where the starkness of a bank's interior contrasted with the lush, welcoming chaos of local festivals. Marla's appearance. Marla herself was an embodiment of her brand, eco-wear. Her style was distinctive. She often wore garments from her line, which were both stylish and sustainable, featuring organic cottons and recycled materials. Her favorite piece was a flowing asymmetrical tunic dyed with natural indigo, which she paired with leggings made from recycled plastic bottles. Her hair was kept in a practical bun, often loosened as the day progressed, strands framing her determined face. Accessories were minimal, a nod to her belief in simplicity and sustainability. A small silver leaf pendant hung around her neck, a symbol of her commitment to nature. The bank's austere environment. The day Marla visited Sterling Bank, the atmosphere was imposing. The bank's interior was a vast expanse of polished marble floors, towering columns, and a ceiling that faded into shadows. The air was cool and smelled faintly of leather and ink. Mr. Thompson's office was at the end of a long corridor, lined with doors that looked identical, suggesting a uniformity that stifled creativity. His office was stark, with minimalist furniture and cold metallic surfaces that reflected a harsh fluorescent glare, a stark contrast to the warmth and texture of Marla's office. Marla's office and surroundings. In stark contrast, Marla's workspace in the warehouse was a haven of creativity and warmth. The office was spacious with high ceilings, the original brick walls exposed and interspersed with large canvases of local art. Plants thrived on windowsills and in corners, adding a touch of greenery and life. Her desk was made of reclaimed wood, scattered with fabric samples and sketches of designs. The large windows overlooked a bustling street where food vendors sold aromatic street food and people from all walks of life mingled. Community Festival Vibrancy. The Community Festival, a pivotal scene in her story, was a burst of colors and sounds. Stalls adorned with vibrant banners and twinkling lights lined the streets. Artisans displayed crafts ranging from woven baskets to handmade jewelry, their booths draped with fabrics of every color. The air was filled with the scents of spicy street food, sweet pastries, and the earthy aroma of fresh coffee. Music floated through the air, a blend of local folk and upbeat modern tunes, reflecting the cultural melting pot of the city. Final gathering scene. The final gathering where Marla gave her heartfelt speech was held in an old theater downtown, restored but retaining its vintage charm. The stage was backed by a curtain of deep velvet, and soft, warm lighting illuminated the space, casting gentle shadows and creating an intimate ambiance. The audience was a mosaic of faces, each reflecting the light of candles placed around the room, symbolizing hope and community spirit. Each visual element in the narrative was carefully crafted to not only enhance the atmosphere, but also to deepen the reader's immersion into Marla's world, making her story not just one to be read, but one to be vividly experienced. As Marla Grayson's story reached its peak, the conflicts she faced with the corporate giant and her struggle to establish eco-wear converged into a dramatic climax. This section of the story not only resolved the primary conflicts, but also tied together the emotional, ethical, and business threads woven throughout her journey. Climactic courtroom scene. The climax unfolded in a packed courtroom where the tension was palpable. The trial between Marla and the corporate conglomerate was the culmination of months of public and legal battles. Marla, standing firm yet weary from the long fight, presented her final piece of evidence, a detailed report proving the conglomerate had stolen her designs. Judge: Ms. Grayson, do you have any final statements? Marla, her voice steady but charged with emotion: Your Honor, this is now Tamati just about stolen designs. It's about the integrity of an industry and the livelihoods of those who are trying to reform it. We cannot let greed overshadow genuine innovation and ethical practices. The room fell silent as the judge considered her words, the gravity of her statement resonating through the crowded space. After a tense moment, the judge delivered the verdict in favor of eco-wear, citing the undeniable proof and the moral responsibility of the conglomerate. Resolution: eco-wear's triumph. Following the trial, the resolution phase began with the conglomerate publicly apologizing and compensating Marla and eco-wear. This legal victory was widely covered by the media, casting Marla not only as a successful entrepreneur, but as a champion for ethical business practices. With the compensation funds and her reputation solidified, Marla rapidly expanded eco-wear. The company launched new lines of clothing, all sourced and produced ethically, and opened several brick-and-mortar stores in key cities around the country. Each store was designed with environmental sustainability in mind, featuring recycled materials and energy-efficient systems. Personal resolution and growth. On a personal level, Marla experienced profound growth. She reflected on her journey, acknowledging how each challenge had shaped her into a more resilient and visionary leader. She hosted a celebratory event for all who had supported Harry, her team, family, community, and online backers. Marla, addressing the crowd at the celebration: "We've built more than a brand. We've sparked a movement. This victory is yours as much as it is mine. Together we are setting a new standard, not just in fashion, but in how business should be conducted globally." Community and industry impact. The story concluded with the broader impact of Marla's victory. Inspired by her success and unwavering commitment to ethics, other companies began to adopt more transparent and fair practices. Marla established a nonprofit foundation aimed at supporting ethical startups, further extending her influence. The narrative then circled back to the vibrant Community Festival, now a yearly event sponsored by EcoWare, celebrating culture, sustainability, and community unity. Marla walked through the festival, her eyes reflecting the joy and satisfaction of her achievements, surrounded by a community that had grown and thrived alongside her. Lasting impressions. The story closed with Marla at sunset, overlooking the city from her office window, the skyline a mix of old and new, much like EcoWare itself. She penned a reflective entry in her journal, pondering the future and the new challenges it would bring. Marla's narrative resolved not only the external conflicts of her business struggles, but also her internal journey towards understanding her capabilities and the impact of perseverance and integrity. This satisfying resolution provided closure to her story while leaving a lasting impression of hope and inspiration for the reader. As Marla Grayson stood on the rooftop garden of her newly inaugurated EcoWare headquarters, she reflected on the profound journey that had brought her to this pinnacle. Below, the city sprawled expansively, a mosaic of light and life, mirroring the complex tapestry of her own experiences. From the stark rejection at Sterling Bank to her triumphant courtroom victory, each step had been a pivotal note in the symphony of her entrepreneurial saga. Summarizing key outcomes. EcoWare, once a fledgling idea born out of a passion for sustainability, had blossomed into a beacon of ethical business practices. The brand was now synonymous with innovation in eco-friendly fashion, influencing industry standards and consumer expectations alike. The legal victory over the conglomerate not only secured EcoWare's place in the market, but also set a precedent for integrity and ethical accountability in business. Marla's personal growth mirrored her company's ascent. She had evolved from a hopeful entrepreneur into a seasoned leader and a respected voice in the global dialogue on sustainability. Her journey had taught her the value of resilience, the power of community support, and the profound impact of staying true to one's principles. Reflecting on character development, the characters who had journeyed alongside Marla. Tom, her tech lead, her supportive family, the community of artisans, and even Mr. Thompson, whose initial rejection had catalyzed her resolve. Each had their arcs woven into the main narrative. Tom, inspired by Marla's tenacity, had launched an initiative within EcoWare to foster tech innovations that supported sustainable practices. Marla's family, ever her cornerstone, had embraced EcoWare's mission, integrating its principles into their daily lives and community interactions. Community and cultural impact. The cultural impact of EcoWare extended beyond the confines of fashion. It had fostered a community that valued sustainability, ethics, and transparency. The annual community festival, sponsored by EcoWare, had grown into a vibrant celebration of these values, attracting thinkers, artists, and entrepreneurs who shared EcoWare's vision. This festival not only celebrated EcoWare's success, but also ignited conversations about sustainable living and ethical consumerism. Forward-looking aspirations. Looking forward, Marla envisioned expanding EcoWare's influence by collaborating with international artisans and integrating more innovative, eco-friendly materials and processes. She planned to use her platform to advocate for global policies that encouraged ethical manufacturing and labor practices. Her dream was for EcoWare to be at the forefront of a global shift towards sustainability and social responsibility in business. A lasting message. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city, Marla penned a message in her latest blog post, intended for her readers and for anyone dreaming of making a difference. In our journey, Each step forward was paved not just with challenges, but with opportunities to learn, to grow, and to influence. The road to innovation and integrity is never easy, but it is always worthwhile. Remember, real change begins with the audacity to imagine a better world and the courage to make it happen. Let us be fearless in our pursuits and steadfast in our commitments. Together we can craft not only a sustainable future, but a vibrant tapestry of interconnected dreams and realities. This conclusion, reflective and forward-looking, underscored the essence of Marla TM's journey. It wasn't just about building a successful business. It was about inspiring change and leaving a lasting impact on the world. Readers were left with a message of hope and empowerment, an invitation to join in the movement towards a more ethical and sustainable future.